And here's another one for us. Pong Toss for the Nintendo Wii. Yeah, a video game rated okay for everyone. That's just great. We're going to introduce teens to binge drinking. Prime News starts right now. Man, this one gets me. A new video game is due out soon. It was originally called Beer Pong. You may have heard of that. That's a popular college drinking game where the goal is to get hammered. Let's face it. Well, this video game got a teen rating, meaning we were going to introduce this to kids as young as 13. All right, so the game maker later changed the name to Pong Toss, and all references to alcohol have been taken out. But come on, kids still know what's up. You don't have to be a rocket science to realize what game you're playing. And I say that a 13-year-old now might have a taste for that game after playing it. But we want to hear from you on this one. Give us a call at 1-877-TEL-HLN. Does this game cross the line? Are video game ratings too lenient? Waiting for your answers. Coming up. All right, just what we need, a video game teaching our kids, I'm talking 13-year-olds, to booze it up and ultimately binge drink. Check this out. Now, this was originally called Beer Pong, and it was rated T for teen, meaning it's suitable for kids as young as 13. Well, Beer Pong, just to let you know, it's an old drinking game. The goal, if I throw my ping pong ball in your cup, you have to drink. All right, let's get that out of the way. Well, now the name of this video game has been changed to Pong Toss. The makers have done that. They've taken out all references to alcohol. I'm not satisfied. Yeah, you can yank out the booze. The message is still there. A kid doesn't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. I think they'll still have a taste for the game and alcohol after playing it. And joining me now to talk about it, Connecticut's Attorney General Richard Blumenthal, who blasted the game rating board. And also joining us, Dr. Lisa Boeski, an adult psychologist. Lisa, we'll get your take in just a second. But Richard, let's start with you. Hey, I know I'm furious that a game like this that could introduce our kids, 13-year-olds, to binge drinking is wrong. How do you think they came up with a rating like this?
You know, this rating is absolutely incomprehensible and unconscionable in my view. The rating came from an organization known as the Entertainment Software Rating Board, which is the official rating group for video games, and it gave this game, it's a video game that is manufactured by JV Games, a rating of T13, which means it's suitable for teens 13 years old and older. And that rating is inappropriate. Under protest from my office, the game was changed, but we have yet to see exactly how it was changed. And equally important, this game is only one in a series called Frat Party Games. You can imagine what the other games are going to look like.
I was just going to say, I can't wait to see what's coming next. But you mentioned them, JV Games, they're the maker of this game, and they did make some changes. Give them credit there. Let's get their statement out there, Richard. It says, the video game was never about alcohol, but rather a growing sport. It is not inappropriate or dangerous in any way. It has never advocated drinking and is only focused on being a fun game to play. All right, that's their statement. We also have a statement from the Entertainment Software Safety Rating Board that you had mentioned. Here it is. Despite being premised on a drinking game, the game's content involves essentially nothing more than tossing ping pong balls into plastic cups. That's what the game's all about now. The statement goes on to say, we are thus unsure of the basis for the statement in your letter. Richard, they're referring to you, suggesting that this content glorifies alcohol abuse and binge drinking. So there's a couple of statements there. Lisa, let me ask you this before I get Richard's comment. If kids play a game like this, and again, you're an adolescent psychologist, you know the mind of kids in that early adolescent age, 13, 14, 15, are they more apt to want to play or apt to want to maybe try and drink, get their hands on some alcohol and give it a go?
Well, you know, watching or playing this video game isn't going to make someone all of a sudden become a binge drinker, but does it send the message, if there's alcohol in video games, that it is fun? That's something we need to worry about. Binge drinking is a huge issue. Binge drinking means 5 drinks in one occasion, and we know it is on the rise among teenagers. So I think this really sheds light on video games in general. We've talked so much about violence in video games, but what about the subtle things like whether there's alcohol in video games or sex in video games or scantily clad women in video games? I think the ratings board really needs to take a look at what they're calling teen and what they're calling adult.
I agree with you on that front as well. And Richard, before we get into the phone calls, again taking your calls at 1-877-TEL-HLN. Do you take umbrage with the statement at all from the ratings board? Again, the end of it saying that they disagree with you that this content glorifies alcohol abuse and binge drinking.
Well, for the reasons that have just been stated so well, obviously there is a drinking component. It's undeniable that this game depicts alcohol consumption, abuse, binge drinking. But the point here is that this rating agency says that the question of alcohol or use and depiction of alcohol is not really a factor to be considered in the ratings. And I find that contention incomprehensible. They ought to be considering at the very least whether alcohol use is glorified or promoted, and not just for teens but for others. But exactly. In this rating, I think they need to consider it.
Lisa said it. It plants a seed. It's common sense. Do we want to plant the seed of alcohol use for a 13-year-old? I think not. Now, this game is available for Nintendo Wii. It's WiiWare. Basically, you can download the game. And here's a statement from Nintendo. I want to get that out to you. It says, Nintendo supports JV Games' decision, that's the game's maker, to change the name of its WiiWare title to Pong Toss. WiiWare is designed to be a forum for creative new ideas that are widely appealing to all consumers, and eliminating alcohol references allow it to be enjoyed for a wider audience. Again, that's the statement from Nintendo. We've heard from all the major players. Let's hear from you now. Let's get in a couple calls. Clay from Virginia. Clay, what do you think?
I think that people put way too much emphasis on ratings and not so much on how the parents should deal with it. I mean, the game is rated teen, which should throw up a flag to parents saying, hey, you might want to know what your kid's playing, and not, just let it go. And then when you find out later after you've bought the game and he's played it for a while, be outraged.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. I think parents need to be on the front end of this. And I think, Richard, don't you think we need to have a better system in the sense of ratings where parents really know the deal? Now, I'm not absolving parents. I agree with Clay's point there that the parents need to be on the front end. Do the research of the game. Go on websites. Find out what the game's all about before you buy it or rent it.
Parents will always have the last and first line of responsibility for what their kids do, and none of these ratings is designed to be a substitute for responsible parenting, for oversight by parents as to what the game really is. But certainly they're a guide, and if they mislead parents, which is, I think, the critical point here, saying that it's okay for teens and yet it involves alcohol and the suggestion of binge drinking, I think is a disservice to those parents.
Yeah, agreed there. All right, we are going to take more calls on this one at 1-877-TEL-HLN. And when we talk about binge drinking, I've got a stat for you that's going to knock you off your couch. All right, let's reintroduce our topic. We're talking about a video game originally called Beer Pong, based on a drinking game. Well, the makers of the video game, they've removed all alcohol references, and they call it Pong Toss. Goal of the game, bottom line, is to throw a ping pong ball into a cup. As a drinking game, if I get my ping pong ball in your cup, you have to drink. But here's where we get into the issue, is this video game was rated T, meaning 13-year-olds are going to play it. I think it's wrong for a 13-year-old to be introduced to a game like this that plants the seed of drinking alcohol. And let's face it, if you're playing a drinking game, it's binge drinking. And I promise you a stat, and this one's going to floor you, binge drinking. Back in 1999, there were 18 deaths, basically college-age kids that had drank themselves to death. That number in 2005 had doubled, or just about doubled, to 35 deaths. We shouldn't be planting this seed. Lisa Boweski, you know the adolescent mind, isn't that right?
Well, and you just brought up a great point that I was thinking this whole time, which is we're focusing so much on teens, but binge drinking among college students is a huge issue, and we know these are frat party games is what they're calling it. So although we should be concerned about the teens, we also need to be concerned about these college students who may be playing this because their parents aren't getting a chance to supervise them.
Yeah, to go on with that statistic, over a 7-year period, 157 college-age kids had drank themselves to death. 83 of those were underage. You make a great point there. Hey, let's get back to the calls. Matt in Ohio. Matt, what do you think of this video game?
I think it's ridiculous, and I think that it's going to introduce kids to the game, and I think it'll make them think it's fun, and I think make them think it's okay to play. I think it's just wrong. I don't think kids should be playing it.
Yeah, exactly, Matt. Thanks for the call. They're going to want to try and play it. And Richard, isn't that your issue? Richard Blumenthal, again, the Connecticut Attorney General. You were furious like me. You took umbrage with this. They've taken the alcohol references out. Are you okay with that? That enough for you?
Well, I think the game still suggests alcohol use, and it glorifies the game, which everybody knows. As you put it, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that this game is about alcohol, whether they show a glass of alcohol or not, and it is the first in a series, frat party games, that could also involve alcohol use.
Yeah.
But I think that the point here is that there are various ways that kids will be influenced to start using alcohol simply by playing this game.
And Lisa Boweski, again, as an adolescent psychiatrist, you know that we're fighting an uphill battle when you talk about teens about sex or alcohol. I mean, don't parents really as parents have to talk on their level to get the message across?
Well, we do, and I think what's interesting is, you know, we tend to think that parents really don't have a role, it's a lost cause, but parents are the #1 influence when it comes to drinking. And there was a new stat I saw that 40% of teens, underage drinkers, were getting alcohol from adults, some of those being their parents. So parents need to really look at what message they're giving their kids, and I think the ratings board also has to keep in mind video games are different than watching it on TV.
Better believe it. Well, Lisa Boweski, Richard Blumenthal, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. More Prime News coming up.